This is UFC 5, and this pretty boy with the biggest chin you have ever seen is Chad Pretty Boy Parker, wearing the piss yellow pants and the white gloves so we can see the blood of his enemies. After repeatedly kicking his neighbour Kent in the head for touching his chickens, the UFC thought that's pretty cool, so they offered him a fight on Dana White's Contender Series with only 4 weeks to train. And train his little heart out, he most certainly did. In fact, you know what? Stop the music. This boy right here, big chin and all, deserves one hell of a montage. Alright, that's enough bloody montaging. Back to the story. It was finally the day for the big fight, and after attempting and failing to chat up Valentina Shevchenko, it was finally time for this sexy 34-year-old man to take on his first UFC fight. Now Chad wanted to start by touching gloves, but his opponent had other ideas. Now Pretty Boy wasn't going to stand for that, so after wobbling his opponent with an uppercut, he decided to throw him to the ground. And after still being upset after being kneed in the head, Pretty Boy tried to break his opponent's arm. But unfortunately, he got out of it. So, what do you do in that situation? You take side control and elbow them in the head. But then they try to get out again. So what do? You just stand up. And it was time for Pretty Boy to show his opponent these hella combos he'd been working on throughout his 4-week training camp. And after dropping his opponent with that uppercut, it was time to land some knees and try to go in for yet another takedown. But a simple takedown would not be enough, so we decided to throw him to the ground. And after achieving full mount, Chad's face still hurt from being kneed in the face at the beginning of the fight, so we tried to break his opponent's arm again, but it didn't work. So Chad, being the self-respecting man that he is, decided to stand things up and start fighting like a man, hand to hand, but once again floored his opponent. After pummeling his opponent's face into the ground didn't work, he found himself on the bottom. So, after transitioning to full guard, he thought, I'll try and choke him out. So he did, and try he did, but unfortunately that didn't work. So Chad stood things up again and once again went in for more blows and dropped his opponent. And after trying desperately to paint the floor with his opponent's brains, it just simply didn't work. So, what do you do in this situation? You get angry and you try to break their arm once again, and hopefully it'd work this time. But unfortunately, it most certainly didn't. And then that led to the end of the round. So, the boys went back to their corner on Dana White's Contender Series and rewatched those highlights of all those devastating blows that Pretty Boy had landed on his opponent. Now coming into the second round, Pretty Boy thought, surely he's learnt something by now, and went to touch gloves, but his opponent didn't take it, so he kicked him in the face, and he was not happy about not being able to touch gloves. So, he elbowed him in the face, went to take full mount, and once again attempted to break his opponent's arm. This was really upsetting Chad, so he put in all the crank he could and finally his opponent tapped, and he won his first ever UFC fight.